Alright, so just real quick, we're going to do a close-up of actually taking this apart and putting it back together, just real quick. So the first thing I'm going to do is take out these two E-springs. Here, being careful not to scratch up the surface. Put those down. Take that E-spring off there. Okay, so before we go any further, I want to take the pressure off of these springs. You have a feed spring here, you have the sear spring here, and then you have the takedown spring back here. Takedown spring you don't have to discharge right now or disarm, but you definitely want to get the sear out of there, and then either use a pair of pliers or a screwdriver to get down inside of here, up and over, and then just let that go, and that discharges this spring here. So there's no tension anymore here, no tension on the sear, and we're not worried about takedown until we actually get to that spot. Well, we've taken this E-clip and this one out here. There's 2 on this side and 3 on this side for the old Glenfield Model 60s. So take these 2 out and then set this side with a 3 down. Take this off. Set that to the side. So you have your housing and your lifter. Pull that up. Those just go in, just fall apart like that. Lifter spring comes out, no problem. I say no problem, of course it's got a little notch right here that goes inside that frame, so you kind of have to wiggle that up and out to get that out of there. So then from there you have the sear, pardon me, let's take the hammer out first. From there you have the hammer just comes out. Now you did preload this, I may have failed to mention this. You want to get the hammer back and put this in there. When I get this, put that together, I'll show you that particular point. But you want to take the pressure off this spring. So anyway, your hammer spring goes there, sear and your sear spring come up and out. Your takedown spring, same kind of, gotta be careful with it. That comes loose. Now you've got, so you just took that spring off, you got your takedown. On the back side of that, you have another E-clip. Just pop that loose. And then this assembly part here just comes right up like that. And then this can come out like so. So that's pretty much taking that down. So now we get the fun joys of putting it back together. So first thing, do it exactly in reverse. You want to take your takedown first. Put your, if I can get up here, there we go. Take your spring. Now your spring has 2 ends. You have the S end here, and then you got just your regular hook side on this. The S goes inside your takedown like so, and then your pin goes in the back. Take this, put it on the back hole here, this one here. You want to make sure that this takedown goes over this rod here. Get the spring out of the way here. Goes over this, but that pin goes inside this hole like such, if I can find the hole. It's fun to try to do this with the camera. Okay, there we go. So got your takedown, which is flush here, your spring, and then hold this down, flip it over, and then set your E-clip like such. So this E-clip set, put it back over. My spring fell out, that's fine. So there you go, put that E-clip in there first. Spring goes in like so. You can go ahead and, there's a small hole just above this right here. Put it inside that hole there. You can see some of the scratches where I've done this before. That goes in there like such. Alright, so now if that's there, Now we're going to take our hammer. Hammer goes in the bottom one here. This bottom one here, like this. Now you want to make sure this piece right here, your spring and your strut bridge actually go in this hole right here. So you got the one above. This is where your takedown went through. You have your bridge right there. That actually goes in that hole. So go ahead and line that somewhat up, and then go ahead and push down on your hammer all the way to its flush on the bottom. Obviously it's touching the breakdown there. It's touching the breakdown there. So push it down at the bottom. Then take your sear. You got your sear spring here. Again, this side has a hook on one side, and then kind of an S looking thing on the other side here. This bigger hook is what goes on the back of the sear, like so. So this is going to go in here like this. Okay, so you want to put that on the rod here. I'm going to bring this up to us. So I want to put this up here halfway, and then stick the spring on there like so. That way this is what's pushing up against the sear, and then you send the sear all the way down to the bottom. Don't load the spring just yet, but just have that in place, and then make sure, you may have to wiggle, but make sure it goes all the way down to the bottom like this. Alright, so that way it's out of the way. So we're going to go ahead and put that back, put it down. So then we got our lifter spring. Same deal, it's got a hook on one side, but this side's flat dang near. So the hook side actually goes into the frame, and then this other piece goes over the lifter. So for now, just put this over the fat notch in the middle. Take your housing, it's got the two notches on one side, only one notch on this side. So you'll see here, you got two holes here. Go ahead and set those in the holes. Just line those up. And then your lifter actually goes inside this hole here, like this, and then up. If you want to do that first, you can, and then just set it down. But then you have the added difficulty of putting it over the hammer. So that hole goes over. Oh, let me get here. This goes in. Make sure nothing goes anywhere. These two holes here and here, and then this goes inside this housing, and then over the hammer spring here, over the hammer itself rather, and that's where you're left with. None of those springs are loaded except for the disconnect, and that's fine. Take your buffer, put it back on. Now come over here, and this is the fun part, is lining up these holes. So what I do is I line up the buffer one back here in the back, because it's kind of just by itself. You got all these other holes here, but then the buffer one's here by itself. So I'll put that on top, and then just kind of use that as a guide to line up the rest. And you may have to wiggle it some, because some of the parts may have, there we go. Just kind of wiggle it down. You shouldn't have to force it, just kind of wiggle it into place. And then finally take your two remaining E-clips, put those on. One and two. Alright, once you got those on there, you're all set. We can go ahead and load these springs. The sear spring you can load with your finger. Just get it in there and load it up here. And then with your lift up, you want to make sure that this gets in the hole here. This outside hole right here, make sure that that goes inside that hole, like so. Okay, that way you got tension on it. And then flip this over, and you're going to push this spring underneath here on top of the lifter, so it's going to push that lifter up. So what I do is I grab a pair of pliers, needle nose pliers, grab the tip here, just press that down up and under, and push over. Well, of course I can't do that on camera the first time. Why would I? This time let's watch what I'm doing instead of the camera. There we go. Just like that. That sits right there on the edge, on top of that lip right there. See that? Top of that lip right there. So that's loaded. This is loaded. All your springs are loaded except for your hammer spring, which I don't unload that until I actually put it back into the receiver. So for right now, this is put back together. It's ready to go back in the gun.